The next section of the Access checklist is Current. And this section is helping us to figure out if the information provided in the website or the article is recent and up to date. The first question is asking us if the information was reviewed recently or updated recently. This is important to find out because if the article hasn't been reviewed by an expert recently, it may not have the most accurate information. Health information changes a lot. There are new studies that come out to give us more up-to-date information. So we want to make sure that the last time somebody reviewed it to make sure it is accurate and current was fairly recently. We want to make sure that the article has been updated recently because if it hasn't, it may not have the most accurate information. To find out when it was last updated or reviewed, we can sometimes look at the top of the article underneath the title here. It might tell us when it was published, when it was last reviewed or updated. I don't see it here, so I'm going to look at the end of the article. Underneath the text of the article here. So I can see that the date that this article was last reviewed was September of 2014. And what that means is the website or the authors asked Dr. Mary Gavin to review the information to make sure that it's accurate based on her professional opinion. And the last time she reviewed that was in September of 2014. So if I go to my checklist, I want to make a note that the last time it was reviewed was 2014. Now, I don't know when it was last updated. It didn't specifically tell me that, but I can assume that since this is the last date listed on the article, that this is the last date anybody has updated the information as well. So I'm going to put a check mark here. It would be great if we have really up-to-date information. 2014 isn't too far ago. The next question for current is asking if specific articles or content within the website includes dates. Now, what this is really asking us is if the author has referred to any current scientific research or studies that have been done to support their claims that they're making in the article. It's important to make sure that the author is using scientific research and studies when they write this article, because we want to make sure that the information we're getting is based on scientific facts, not on somebody's opinion. And obviously, we want to make sure that that research or study has been done fairly recently to make sure that the information is the most current that it can be. To look for this question, the first thing you'd probably want to do is read through the article. And as you're reading the article, you want to be looking to see if the author is making reference to any studies or research that prove their point. And then we can check to see if there's any dates included. Now, as I read through this article, unfortunately, I don't see that the author has given us any research, scientific research or studies that help to prove their point about what healthy eating should look like for teens. The teenshealth.org site doesn't do a very good job of this overall on their website. I've found some other examples from other websites just so you can see what it looks like. So this is a journal article, which is a pretty dense and confusing thing to read, but it does a really good job of saying where they're getting their information from. So within this first paragraph in the introduction, they have a really good example of this. So the second sentence says, in light of the increasing prevalence of overweight and obesity in North America among all ages, including very young children, an understanding of the factors that influence eating behaviors during childhood is needed to improve the dietary patterns and health status of this age group. So they're making a claim that there's been an increased prevalence or that there have been more cases of all people in America being overweight and obese. And if we look here at the end of that sentence segment, we see that there's a little footnote. And this is telling us where they got that information so they could make that claim. So there was a study that was done by these folks between these years, and it was published in 2006. So this is a really good example of the author of this article here telling us where they got their information to make their claims. Another place that we can look to see if the author is listing research or facts that have dates is in any references section or resources section. So a lot of the times the author will tell us where they got their information from, and usually that's at the bottom of the article. So I'm going to scroll way down. This is a long journal article. I'm going to scroll way down to the bottom, and luckily I see a section called references. So this is listing all of the references that the author of this journal article used to inform them and educate themselves about this topic. And we see this is that first one that I had just mentioned about. So this is helpful because we can take a look at the sources that the author used, and we can also see when they were published to see if they're up to date and recent. I look at the access checklist for current in the second question. I want to make a note that I was not able to find that the author of the teenshealth.org site made any reference to scientific data or research that's been done recently. In fact, there wasn't reference to any specific scientific research that's been done at any point in time. So I'm not able to check this one off the list for our checklist. The final question for current is asking if the links on the website work. This is important to ask because if the links don't work, it's not only frustrating, but it means you may not be able to get all the information you need to answer your question. If the links aren't up to date and working, it means that the author or the organization that runs the website isn't maintaining it. So you might wonder what else isn't up to date if the links aren't working. This is an easy one to check because all you need to do is click on the links. So as you're going through, there might be links to different information, like this is a link to a specific information about type 2 diabetes. So you can click to see if it brings you where it says it's going to bring you. So on my checklist, I can make a note that yes, the links work, and I can check this one off the list. And that is how you check for currency. The next section is asking us how to check for ease of use and access.